Good evening, everyone. Time is 6:30 p.m., July 19th, 2023, and I'm calling to order first of four public hearings. Our first public hearing is an ordinance of the Borough of Westchester, Chester County, Pennsylvania, vacating a portion of West Prescott Alley between North Darlington Street and North New Street. Mr. Estee.
President, there are three exhibits to make part of the record. B1 is publications showing that the notice of this hearing is published in the Daily News on June 30th, June 22. Email dated June 27th, 2023. Solicitor's office sending ordinance to the Chester County Law Library and the Daily News. B3 is a letter, Reverend Lewis LP, the Reverend Monsignor Danny Lewis, B dated June 27th. As the title indicates, this is an ordinance to vacate a portion of Prescott Alley, North Darlington Street and North New Street. All the adjacent properties are owned by St. Agnes Roman Catholic Parish, where the Archbishop of Philadelphia, Archdiocese. St. Agnes requested that this portion be vacated. The other side of Prescott Alley was previously vacated back in 1970. The other side of the street. So it says, vacating that there is a attached to the ordinance that shows the area.
Thank you, Mr. Estee. Council and Mayor, any comments or questions about this ordinance as is presented? Okay, it could be a public comment on this. Okay, then if there's no comment or question, I think it would be appropriate to make a motion to approve it as presented.
Mr. Stefano, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment as presented by Mr. Estee tonight.
And I would like to second that.
Great. We have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance as presented. Without further discussion, who's calling the questions tonight? Mr. Estee, can you do that, or
Pardon me?
who can call the question tonight? I'm okay. All right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the motion carries 7-0. Moving on to our second public hearing, which is an ordinance of the Borough of Westchester, Chester County, Pennsylvania, amending the code of the Borough of Westchester, specifically Chapter 104, titled Vehicles and Traffic, to amend Section 104-45, titled Special Purpose Parking Zones Established, Parking Otherwise Prohibited, to add a handicap parking space at 610 South High Street and 407 East Bernard Street.
And I have two exhibits to make part of the record this year. One is the publication shows notice of this hearing is published in the Daily News by 10 here. Two is email solicitor, Daily News, all library by special say.
Great, thank you. Council and Mayor, any questions or comments about this ordinance as is presented? Okay, any public comment? All right, seeing none, I think it would be appropriate to make a motion to approve this.
I'd like to make the motion to approve this ordinance as written.
I'll second.
Yep, got a motion and a second to approve the ordinance as presented. Without further discussion, Ms. DiDomenico, would you please call the question?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to our third public hearing is an ordinance of the Borough of Westchester, Chester County, Pennsylvania, recognizing the authority of the Westchester Fire Department and volunteer fire companies operating within the Borough of Westchester to seek reimbursement for hazardous abatement incidents, environmental incidents, and fire safety and rescue responses.
There are two exhibits for this year. One is publication showing that published in July 10. Two, Elizabeth's office. Whole line, her writing. Title, where it's arrived, but where its content is. By council. Agents. And.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the dais? Okay. Any public questions or comments on this? Okay, I would think it'd be appropriate once again to approve this as presented, it's ordinance.
Mr. Stefano, I make a motion that we approve the ordinance as presented.
And I'd like to second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this. Without further discussion, please call the question. Thanks, David.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion carries 7-0. We're moving on to our last public hearing, which is an ordinance of the Borough of Westchester, Chester County, Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 112 titled Zoning, Section 112-202, to add a definition for accessory dwelling unit and to amend the definition of family, to amend Section 112-304.b and Table 304.b to add accessory dwelling unit as an allowable accessory use in the NC1, NC2, and TC Town Center zoning districts, and to amend Section 112-903 titled Accessory Uses to add a new subparagraph I to adopt regulations for accessory dwelling units.
There are four exhibits, we make part of this record. B1 is publication. Showing notice of the hearing was published in the Daily Local News. This year, B2. Elizabeth's office, the Chester County Law Library. Special. 3 or minutes. May 3rd. Letter. Chester County Lane. Again, the title of the ordinance. Summarizes the ordinance. President is an amendment to the zoning ordinance. Accessory dwelling units. It's 1, it's 2.
Thank you. Questions and comments from up here? Yeah, Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Stefano. I have a brief statement that I wrote down. Hopefully I can read it the way I wrote it. Thank you for covering the proposed ordinance to allow the installation of this type of living space in our tiny, little, adorable alleys. I understand all the restrictions and the caveats attached to this format. But again, it's just adding already to our overdense population of our 1.8 square miles. In a short time, we will have approximately 800 new souls living in the borough, which we cannot stop because of the right to build. Our density is already breathtaking. The latest report is that 10,122 people per square mile live in the borough, and I'm sure the other 18,000 temporary students were never counted. Coatesville's a city, and they have 7,800 people living per square mile, and we're almost the same size as density as Philadelphia, which is 11,400 people per square mile. I'll be voting against the conversion of the back houses and the garages into living spaces. The borough doesn't have a housing crisis. We just can't fit any more into this space. God isn't making any more dirt, and our dirt's covered. Building up was once an option around the country, but this type of infrastructure doesn't fit into our quaint, walkable, historic little town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Mr. McQuay?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the planning commission for bringing it forward. I think it's a positive way to add to some affordable housing, and, with respect to Mr. Flynn's comments about density. I understand where you're coming from, but I think this has been proven to be an effective way to add some housing stock for the borough, and I think it's going to have a positive impact. Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Just got to respond real quick. As the only renter on council, the housing crisis is rough in the borough right now. I'd love to own a home here. I'm actively trying, and it's just really hard. So I do support this.
Thank you. Okay, any public comment on this? Come on down. Just got to make sure we're stating our names and our addresses for the record.
Jason Burrell, 309 West Union. I am also the chairperson for the Planning Commission. I'm really here just to say that I can speak for all of us on the Planning Commission that we're in support of this ordinance, and we worked really hard on it. Thomas, who really spearheaded it, is here, so he might get up and speak himself. I think overall, it's a good thing for the borough. We have a de facto ADU ordinance, so if you think about the carriage house ordinance, which is already in effect, and it's been, I think most people would say that's a success. The ADU ordinance is really just allowing other property owners that don't have carriage houses to do a similar thing. I think also the ordinance is carefully, as you said, with caveats, Bernie, to kind of allow to let this happen slowly. And I think the nature of the ordinance is going to allow, not everyone will be able to do this. I think also, not just in our borough, I think you got to think about it more holistically. The issue is that, and I know this professionally as an architect, there are just, I've had countless conversations with homeowners that, and it could be any of you, that an in-law suite, kids coming back with new families, that want to move in and they want to create a new dwelling unit on their property, and they don't think anything of it. And in theory, it's not really that big of a deal because they're not renting it. It's not about being a landlord. And that's what this is meant to do. So that enables, the specific intent section of the ordinance really kind of hits all the points of why it should be enacted. So I would urge you all to say yes, even you. So that's all. So if you have any questions. No,
Thank you.
But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Saw some other people that were interested. Come on down.
My name's Tom Andrews. I'm at 26 East Washington Street. That's right behind the YMCA. And I've lived in the borough for 20 years, and I've worked at the university for over 30, so I'm familiar with the town. And to your point about our quaint village, which I love, my favorite alleys are the ones with homes in them. We were just talking about West Prescott, which, the other side of that's got a lot of nice residents right in the alley. And I think they add to the character, not detract from it. I'd like to see the same thing happen in my alley. Nothing would make me happier than to put up a 6-story garage to block the view of that god-awful red YMCA, which, I love the YMCA. I just don't like to look in their windows every morning when I wake up. So I hope you will support the ordinance. I think it's good for the town. I think it'll improve the character of the town, and I think it will help with the housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments back there? I thought, yeah, come on down. Yeah, sure.
Joanne Smith, 539 North Church Street. I have been through most of the discussion of this at the Planning Committee, so I really have seen it evolve. If you're looking for affordable housing, this isn't the way to have it. It may be attainable housing, but it's not going to be affordable housing. I think by and large, the Planning Commission had come to that conclusion as well. I think densifying the density that this borough already has is diminishing returns to the quality of life. The borough currently has a huge parking problem and crisis. We did a huge parking study a couple years ago. I've never seen any of the implementations of that. It's almost like we paid a lot of money, tucked it on a shelf, and there it went. I think before you pass this, you need to let the borough and residents know how they're going to deal with the parking issue resulting from this. Because although you can have more than one individual in one of these dwelling units, you only need to accommodate for one parking space. So where do the other parking spaces come from? One is they have been written out of this ordinance that they cannot then go and become part of the permit program of their neighborhood. That means that extra car or two, or how many they have, now has to scout the borough to where there is not any parking permit programs to drop their cars off. It's already a problem on the whole north end of town. In fact, if you'd like to cruise around, there are student cars that are left here for the entire summer, unmoved. Now you have other vehicles competing for spots that normal residents who pay taxes and have lived here and contributed in this borough are now no longer able to even park in front of their house to unload their groceries because there are other vehicles there that aren't even from their own neighborhood, but they're elsewhere. On a number of occasions, different neighborhoods have come to the borough and said, please put us on your permit parking because we're really tired of fighting for spots right in front of our own house from people who live elsewhere and mainly and frequently students. The borough did not proceed with expanding and making different parking permit programs in different areas. So the people who are not covered by a permit parking program are basically unable to protect themselves from all the vehicles that are down there. I know that you can walk and see there are cars all over the place, some of which can't even start and are still there, even though they would get stickered, the sticker would come off, they're there for another 6 months. So if you're going to only accommodate one vehicle parking space to allow when there can be multiple residents in the dwelling unit. And you need to realize that the dwelling unit doesn't have to be just on the alley. The dwelling unit, if I understand this correctly, just needs a private entrance, could be in the main structure, a private entrance, and a parking spot. Who's that? And when you think about this increasing the density, and the concept that the borough may be considering Airbnbs. What in the borough is not a rental? Is that to the benefit of the borough to have its overwhelmingly, if not all of it, rental property? I agree. Everybody should and wants to have a home. That's the American dream. And I think everybody should have that attainable at whatever level they are able to afford. But this isn't doing the quality of life in this borough any help. So before you hop on board with that, consider some of the ins and outs of it. One is that only part of the parking is considered. Secondly, it isn't just garages that can be converted. It's garages and portions of your building, providing you have a separate entrance, and a parking spot. So, and this on top of potential Airbnbs, what's left of the borough? I think most people would agree that rental properties are probably not cared for as well as homeowners. I think most people would understand that and agree with that. So why is the borough on a banana peel going the other way? Thanks.
Thank you. Other public comment? Yeah, come on.
I appreciate your time. I did present last year to you all, so I'm going to keep it brief. I wasn't going to, but then I couldn't resist.
For the record, say your name.
Yeah, 329 North High Street, Thomas Doherty. And I just wanted to talk very quickly about density in the borough, because it is a concern. And I think we're looking at 200 new apartments, right? You know, Rubenstein's, Mitch's Gym, Burger King. And you're also looking at new developments that are not contributing to the character of the borough. You know, look at your comprehensive plan, look at your advertising, look at what the bid puts out. And, you know, to your point about, you know, why do people move here? Or the character of place. We're seeing new construction, which is detrimental and to the character of place. And I think also those issues of parking and traffic, when they're isolated new construction, you know, little bundles of 60 and 80 units, that's really problematic. Everything is a balance, but I do think that this ordinance allows for small incremental additions of one, maybe two, spreading out parking. And when you think about the character of the borough and the historic carriage houses, those are some of the best examples, I think, of the character that makes this place so special. So I hope that we spend a lot of time thinking about just those issues. So I appreciate those concerns, and I think that's absolutely right. But I don't think because we're seeing bad development, we should also close off our minds to the potential of a few very, you know, small incremental steps toward some contributing buildings. And if it's, you know, if you look at ADU development across the country, ADU legislation gets passed and cities are really proud when they have, you know, 4 ADUs built over the next, you know, 4 years. So I don't anticipate it being anything like, you know, the new developments that are going up right now, but thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Okay, any further comment up here from council or mayor?
Yeah, I just have one comment. I just want to point out too that with these dwelling units being attached to the home or anything of that nature, that property will be reassessed, which means that's going to lead to more revenue, more property tax revenue. To the point about parking, maybe one day we could, you know, build another garage deck. I think that is something that we desperately need downtown. So I think this is a good start to attainable housing. But again, looking at the revenue aspect, that's something that we tend to forget.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further comment, somebody's so inclined to make a motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance as presented.
A second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance as presented. Would you please call the question? Thanks, Dana.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the motion carries 6-1. Okay. Our public hearings are now closed, and I'm going to, at, time is it? 6:53, call to order our July 19th, 2023 Borough Council voting session. Before we get on to the pledge, I'm just going to let everybody know that I'm removing item G out off of consent, moving on to discussion, just because there were some changes made to it. So Ms. Reiner will go over those with us when we get to, I'll put that under discussion make discussion 5B, sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, can I have, item 2 is our Pledge of Allegiance. Can I please have that led by Ms. Dorsey? Thank you. Item 3 is comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items that are not on the agenda. If anybody wishes to speak, come to the mic, state your name and address for the record. Okay, I'm seeing none. We're going to move on to item 4, which is comments by the Borough Council and the Mayor. And we will start with Mr. McCoy.
Good evening. Just, I'll be quick tonight. Just a reminder that August 1st is National Night Out and Touch a Truck over at Henderson from 6 to 9. So everyone at home, hope you bring your kids out there. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Vaccaro. Ms. Vaccaro, sorry.
I just wanted to say I apologize for missing last month. I was traveling. And one thing about traveling is it opens your mind to new experiences. High density areas and public transportation were one, and I'm going to use a lot of that to make future decisions here. And the second part of traveling is when you come home, you appreciate more what you have. And we have an absolutely wonderful town with amazing people and wonderful people working for this town. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. McGinnis.
Mr. McCoy took my words about the National Night Out, so, and everyone's going to talk and take them a National Night Out. So that's a good thing. It's always a good time to be with your police and fellow first responders. So with that, today, you got the Powerball coming up tonight, so buy your tickets. It's over $1 billion. That's a lot of tax revenue to come back locally into the state of Pennsylvania, so I think it's a good thing. I'm always preaching about revenue. That's a good thing.
Great, thank you. Mr. Flynn.
I'm beginning to think we have a Mr. Jingles Jr. here. It's like it's contagious. Greetings from the sweetest ward in the borough, the 6th Ward. With a sad note, I have to notify everyone that City Buns, my favorite go-to cinnamon bun place, is closed. She promises to open up someplace else in the borough or someplace else close. My A1C will probably get back to where it belongs because those things are deadly. This past week, we had the opportunity to take a field trip, which is rather unique in the borough, to go up and look at the pop-up train up in the middle of the state. And it was eye-opening and very refreshing to see the future ability that we may be able to have train service if they do the due diligence to get all the work done. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen.
I also have nothing else to add, so I hope everyone's enjoying their summer.
Ms. Dorsey.
Okay, well, gives me time to, going to steal everybody's time tonight. And I will forego the National Night Out. Thanks, Mr. McCoy. I want to take this opportunity tonight to clarify my recommendation to the zoning hearing board. And although I felt as though I had asked the right questions and done the due diligence, I was ill-advised and misinformed around what we could and couldn't do. And I assumed that that had been shared with the proper folks at the borough and learned that evening that it had not. And I apologize for that. And although I was not afforded the same courtesy, my intention was simply to introduce the opportunity for a new firm to get experience with the borough. I understand that there's been speculation and insinuation and rumors around doing a favor for a friend. I can assure you that that was not my intent. That firm had already applied for the solicitorship during the RFP process. I do know John. Coincidentally, he was recommended as the representative should the solicitorship be awarded to Belwar Kelly, as do many people on council. John Long was a member of Buckley Ryan, and he assisted Kristen Camp. He is on many boards and committees here in the borough that some borough members, including myself, are on with him. I'm sorry. And that's all, really, that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to give that any more air, but I've been approached by several people, including the news, the Daily Local News, which really just sort of, I found a little bit unsettling around what folks speculated or insinuated were my intentions. I assure you, they were not nefarious or was not looking for a favor or any special courtesy. So that's all I'm going to say about that. There's no there there. Now on to more positive news. We've already heard about the National Night Out, and I hope to see everyone there on August 1st. I also want to thank everyone who put work in on getting Westchester baseball back at Hoops Park. I know that Mr. Metrick and Mr. Cooper started working, and Mr. Karowski started working on that the very next day. I hope one of the lessons that we have learned from that is that department heads are sharing information at team meetings or with other department heads. So we don't find ourselves in that situation again, where there is work being occurring at borough property and everyone who has skin in the game has not been properly informed and has an opportunity to provide feedback on that. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor DiBaptiste.
So we all know National Night Out is August 1st. So be there or be square. And I hope everyone's enjoying the summer. And I'd also like to say, I hope I'm not being jumping the gun here. It's on the consent agenda, but for probably the first time in how many years, Chief, we may actually have 44 officers, a full complement of officers. The first time the boroughs had that in about 3 years. So another excellent candidate is on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I don't really have much. I just wanted to wish everybody a great summer. Hope their summer's going well for everyone. And I want to thank again, I feel like I do this monthly, but Greenfield Park is just impressing me little by little. They were working, I think, yesterday all day. And just what normally was an eyesore in that parking lot and a flood zone has now become a little bit more of a greener space, and it looks really nice. And I know they keep putting the work in. So I really want to thank everybody who's involved with that to help with that. That's it. Okay, we're moving on to item 5A, which is the appointment of Chip Horn to fill a vacancy on the Westchester Borough Tree Commission. Chip came last night and told us a little bit about himself. Anybody have any questions or issues with this or comments? Any public comment on this? Okay, then I think it'd be appropriate for somebody to make a motion for Chip to be appointed.
Mr. Stefano, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chip Horn to fill the vacancy on the Tree Commission.
Thank you.
Bernie Flynn seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for item A to appoint Chip Horn. Without further discussion, Dana, would you call the question, please? Thank you.
Yes.
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 Yeah, yes.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 7-0. I really want to thank Chip for his willingness to serve. And reminder that there's 2 opening positions for the alternates to the Civil Service Commission. So if anybody's interested and want to serve the borough, it's a good chance. Moving on to item 5B, which was actually item G from the consent agenda, which is authorizing the solicitor to prepare an amendment to ordinance 104-32, street sweeping. Ramsey, do you want to go over just like some of the changes that were in there?
Sure. This is just an update. So Bernard Street, we had briefly discussed, I touched base with Rich Keim today. This would just update, it would run on, can you scroll down? Thank you. So Bernard Street would just on Thursdays go from, my brain's not at peak speed right now, from, where is it? I don't know. Keep going. No. I've saved it now and changed it from red light week. Go back up. It would change. No, stop. The south side from Thursdays, it would change it it would go all the way from Brandywine to Matlack Street. So it would give it the full pizzazz. The other change that we included at request was to include us. Could you scroll down to Everhart? This got very confusing because there's Everhart Ave and Everhart Street. So go back up. So this would now include Everhart Ave. There would be 4 inclusions. So Everhart Ave, east and west side from Strasburg Road to Market Street on Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 to 11. And from Market Street to it wasn't supposed to be Minor Street. It was supposed to go down to, oh no, that's right. I'm sorry. From Market Street to Minor Street on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 8 to 11 on the east and west side. This has not been done before. So this would be a nice inclusion. And we will work on notification of the residents. I'm sure there will be some feedback, but we'll work on making sure that we'll notify them and give a grace period and we won't ticket, so there's plenty of.
Yeah, and we'll have time because this is just, we're authorizing this to be written and then we'll actually have to have the public hearing. So we'll have some time to kind of
Yeah,
get that.
yeah, this will be
Okay.
months of notice.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Any questions about this or issues or comments or any public comment on this? Okay, then it would be appropriate to approve this. To authorize the solicitor to prepare an amendment to ordinance 104-32.
I would like to authorize the solicitor as written.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept this, to authorize the solicitor to write this amendment. Without further discussion, Dana, would you call the question?
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, that's item 5. We're moving on to item 6, which is our consent agenda, which includes everything from A to Q minus item G, which was pulled out.
Mr. Stefano, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
It's a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept this consent agenda. Any comment from the public before we do that? Okay, Mr. Domenico, would you please call the question?
Yes.
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 Yes, motion carries 7-0, consent agenda. And then it brings us on to item 7, which is other business. Is there any other business? Wow, okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.